Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Today I have for you a fun little card. This is I'm going to call it a fun flap card featuring the everyday arches in a unique way. I know typically when you think of arches, you think of flat on the bottom, round on the top. And so we're flipping the script tonight and using the dies in the Everyday Arch set to create a fun little flap on a card. So let me show you those everyday arches that I'm talking about. So we have the Everyday Arches stamp set, and they are our coordinating dies. You do not have to buy them both together. You can buy them individually. If you want to buy them together, we bundle them and you save 10%, which is nice. And speaking of products that you can buy, you can check everything out online at thefaithfulstamper.stampinup.net. We have all our new catalogs posted online, as well as our online exclusives. And we're getting online exclusives and new kits pretty much every month. So lots of things to see there. Plus there's a last chance section. You can get prices at a discount that we are discontinuing and taking away. So anyway, Everyday Arches. This is a photopolymer stamp set. And I have chosen to keep my dies inside the case on a magnetic sheet. We are transitioning away from the cases and the red rubber stamps to the photopolymer, and they will be coming in envelopes starting in about maybe 2 months, like November-ish. So that is a little bit of a change, but it's okay. We're still going to be able to store everything together. The Everyday Arches is a fantastic set. You can get it as a standalone set, or you can get the bundle so that you have both to coordinate. We do have another stamp set as well called Arched Wishes that coordinates beautifully with more arched sentiments. And I'm going to be using the 5th, 6th, and 7th largest, so just counting down from the largest as I go down. So we'll talk about more with that in a minute. But that is the main set we are using tonight. And then I'm also featuring just a little bit the Blooming Phrases. I'm using an accent stamp, one of the little florals, but there's tons to pick from here, as well as our beautiful butterflies set for the verbiage for tonight's card. All of these can be found on my website. And if you're a paper catalog kind of person, feel free to reach out to me if you don't have a demonstrator you're already working with, and I'll be happy to hook you up with a paper catalog. I know I like to have them in my hands and drool all over them. Mark them up with all my wish lists. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that's a little bit different about this card, it is not a traditional card base. So the card base for this particular card is a quarter sheet of cardstock. So it's 5.5 by 4 1/4. And this is Mossy Meadow. The next piece we're going to talk about is our first layer of cardstock. My notes are sticking together here. So this is 5 1/4 by 4, and this is Secret Sea, one of our new in colors. Maybe not so new, they've been around a couple months, but the newness hasn't worn off for me. And then we're going to use a layer of Designer Series paper that's 5 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches tall. Now we have this beautiful pear paper. There's a whole suite of pear products that is online. It's an online exclusive. I actually only bought the paper. And so I went with this pink sheet for a couple of the cards, but I wanted to mix things up for you. And so we're going to use a different piece of the Designer Series paper. So as I mentioned, 5 inches wide, 3 3/4 inches tall. Now we're not going to do what you might be used to, which is just kind of layer and go. There's actually an important step we need to do in a certain order, or else it makes your life a little more interesting. Trust me, this is why I warn you. Usually my mistakes are to your benefit because I teach you not to do that. So I mentioned those everyday arches, which normally you think of like this. We're going to rotate them. And so the 5th largest arch I cut in Secret Sea, and then I scored 1/2 inch from the flat top, in this case, of the arch. Just scored. Then I went one size down and cut it in basic white and cut 5/8 of an inch off. And I just kind of eyeballed it and figured out how much I wanted to take off. You can play with it if you want a little more or a little less on your card. And I'm gonna layer these together in a bit. But while we're talking about measurements, I have another of the 6th arch in Secret C. So these two are actually the same. This has 1/2 inch cut off. And then one size lower, the 7th arch, again, 1/2 inch cut off in basic white. These are kind of gonna be our peekaboo pieces, so we'll get to those in a minute. But here, and that important step that we're gonna talk about involves the largest arch with the score line on it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the layer, so not the base, but the Secret C layer that's 5 1/4 by 4. We are gonna go ahead and attach our Designer Series paper. And speaking of that, you don't have to use Designer Series paper if you'd rather have stamped cardstock or embossed cardstock. Feel free to experiment. I have a beautiful embossed card I can't wait to show you at the end of the video. So go ahead, glue your DSP on the panel, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take our arch with the score line and fold it over. You can use a bone folder or your fingers. And so we've created a little flap. What I like to do is I like to hook it right on top of the card, and then I'm kind of maneuver it around and say, do I like it on the left? Do I like it on the right? You could do center if you wanted. I think I actually want to put it there. I like these flowers showing. Whoop. Once you've figured out your positioning, what I do is I hold it in place and I flip it over, and then I put adhesive on the flap. You can also put a little bit on the cardstock as well. Now I'm going to revisit that, make sure I didn't move it too far. And then just make sure it's flush and press down. It's important to do this step now rather than after you put it on the base. Trust me. All right, so now go ahead and put the panel on the base. I think I just, oh, nope, thought I ran out of glue. It's coming. I can see the warning, the red tape coming through. You do not need any specific adhesive for this, so use your favorite, Tear and Tape, glue, tape runner, anything will work. And then just center that. I have chosen to layer on to my panel here, not stamped directly on it, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. This is for the outside. We'll come back to this in a minute. And I just layer that flat edge right along the top of the fold of the flap. Make sure it's straight and centered. And give that a press. Now, we're going to open that flap and take the matching Secret C piece. As I mentioned, this is a little bit smaller. You can make it the same size as if you like, but then you really have to work to get it lined up correctly. I like to go a size smaller, and that gives me a little bit of breathing room. And so I'm going to center it under the flap. Keep it just a hair down. You don't want to butt it right up against that score line because then it's going to make this a little more difficult to fold flat. So just give yourself a hair below that score line once you get it centered. And there, you'll see that that little peekaboo panel is covered up when the flap is closed. So let's do some stamping and decorating. My stamp set tonight is photopolymer, so I'm bringing over my Stampin' Pierce mat. And we'll start with my arch, my upside down arch. Now, obviously, with it being a small panel, I have to either go with small words or small images. So just keep that in mind. I did So Thankful for You. It kind of went with the birthday card. And then I'm going to accent it with the little trio of flowers in Daffodil Delight from that Bloomin' Phrases set. So I'll glue this in a minute. While I have my Stampin' Pierce mat out, I'm going to do all my stamping. So that little floral accent stamp goes on my envelope to keep everything nicely coordinated. And then I have a panel for the back of the card. Did I even show you the back of the card? It's a little bit different, as I mentioned. It's not your full, completely open card. But if you want extra writing space, as opposed to just this, you have two choices. One we're going to talk about in a minute, and the other is this panel here on the back. So this is 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to use that accent stamp again, carrying the theme through. And then Time to Celebrate is my message for the inside. Just like so. And then one more little bit of stamping. I'm going to stamp my happy birthday for the front of the card. I have a strip that's 5 inches, no it's not, I'm sorry, whew, 1/2 inch tall. I don't know where that 5 came through. And maybe a little more than 3. I know it's longer than my sentiment, which was what I was going for. It's probably about 5 1/4 because I probably cut it off as I was making the insert piece. Maybe that's why my brain is so used to saying it. All right, so there's all the stamping for tonight. So what I'm gonna do is take my paper snips, since this is a little longer than I want, and just snip the edge. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close my ink pads really quick because I've already got ink on one of my fingers. It's probably gonna end up somewhere on a card that I don't want it. So here's the card. We're gonna flip it over, and I find it easier to flip that flap open while I'm attaching the back of the card. You can always do that first once you kind of get your pieces organized. This just gets centered. Okay. Now I'm gonna glue in that inside arch. Again, keeping it a hair down so that my flap closes. All right, so now to decorate the flap, I didn't do a whole lot of stamping on, or really any stamping on the flap itself. What I have done is I have fussy cut from more of the pear paper, several of the pieces. Now, I just bought the paper. I did not buy the whole set. I wasn't sure if I wanted the set, but I have played with the set, and I know that there are dies that coordinate that cut out these 4 pieces, which is really nice. Saves you fussy cutting if you're not a big fan of that. So what I'm going to do next is find my dimensionals and put some dimensionals on the back of these pieces. I'm going to glue the flowers on flat. So I want to add a couple to the pair of pears. And then I'm actually going to cut a couple of the dimensionals in half. I did not bring over my mini ones today to my craft table. So I'm going to start with my large pear, since that is the biggest image, and work around that. So I think I'm going to put it on this side. I'm going to add these flowers with a little bit of adhesive, kind of down here. Going to go ahead and put my pear stem on with the leaves. Make sure if you've got dimensionals on anything that they're not overhanging and gluing your card shut. I know sometimes that is a little bit tricky. And then last but not least, here's our pair of pears. There we go. Oop. Now, last but not least, can't forget our birthday banner. That's the whole point of the card. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little piece of dimensional and put it next to my pear here, because I don't want my birthday banner to droop. But I also want it to stick to the card. So my persnickety adhesive will work. Since it's going to hang off a little bit, I just want to make sure that end is propped up. And whew, perfect glue. Now for a finishing touch, I have some of our low profile sparkle dots. These coordinate beautifully with this pack of DSP. They come in 3 different shades. And so I'm gonna pick, I think I might go with yellow, probably Daffodil Delight, and just put a couple on the card here. And there is our finishing touch. So here is our fun flap card with the everyday arches. And you can see what a difference it makes just using different paper. Both beautiful though. Now, if you are not a fan of this style card, I know some people really prefer the whole card base. Never fear. One change of materials will hook you right up. So instead of just the quarter sheet of cardstock, if you want a full card, follow all the steps, but just attach it to a full card base. So here I have that flap, and then instead of the back, oops, wrong card. It's another one just like you saw. Here we go. Try it this way. Now there's the full card. So you have that option with either the flap on the, or the insert on the back, or inside a full card. And the only difference is the size of your card base, either the full card base or the quarter panel of cardstock. And I just wanted to show you a couple of the cards done with the different orientation, kind of right to left, and they all look beautiful, but a little bit different. Okay, so as I like to do, I've made more samples to show you. You can really let your creativity run wild. On this card, I chose to use the kind of busier print, the floral print for the flap of the card, and I went with a solid base. I stamped right here on the card, added a banner and a little bit of bling, and there is my card. I opted not to put a panel on the back of this one. I could do that if I chose to. We are heading into fall here. I've got another week, I think, before it's official, but Halloween is just around the bend, and our DSP really worked well for this card. It was fun cutting out the little window here, adding a die cut and a little spooky surprise inside. And then there is the back of the card. And I mentioned embossed cardstock earlier, and I have a beautiful card to show you. So this features our new Sunflower 3D embossing folder. It is an online exclusive. It was out of stock for a little while. It's back. If it goes out of stock again, it will be back again, I'm sure. It's very, very popular and beautiful. You can see that beautiful embossing. This is Daffodil Delight with Early Espresso, a beautiful sunflower color combination. Our little hello there. Some die cuts from the Impressions A Bloom set and bling, and then a panel on the back. So lots of options for different styles of cards using that kind of fun flap with the everyday arches. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to watch my crafting video. I'm so grateful to you for doing that. If you are new to the channel, I would love to have you subscribe. You will have access to all the videos that have been posted here. I do have a Facebook page. You can find me as The Faithful Stamper. I do Facebook Live videos once a week, usually the same techniques that you see here, but I share more about classes that I offer in case you're local or are interested in online classes. I share more about specials and just more product and project ideas there on that Facebook page. So I hope you would like to check that out as well. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.